Good evening. It's Tuesday, August 15th. We're here for our regular scheduled county commissioner meeting. We have a full slate of commissioners. We have our administrator and the clerk of the board. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please rise and join in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome. It's good to see a full house. So at this time, the first item on the agenda is approval of the vouchers. Oh, we have one.
We have one voucher. Move for approval of fund expenditures in a total amount of $2,604,065.95 as presented, and note that it has been reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office and the county administrator.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And at this point in time, we need a motion to amend the agenda because we have moved one item off of the consent and added an emergency item on the consent.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we amend the agenda declaring an emergency for the procurement of an HVAC unit servicing the courthouse.
Second, discussion.
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion.
What's the item that's being removed?
It's been moved to regular. It's the mitigation between the city of Pasco. We have 7 items on the consent?
Yes.
But number 7 was moved to regular business here.
I believe it's number 6 that.
But, okay, so the way I from the previous agenda, item number 3 has been moved to regular business, and so we have 6 consent items. And the one, number 6, is the use of the emergency for the funds to purchase an HVAC for the courthouse. So we have 6 consent items.
So the answer is item 3 was the one moved?
Move to A, resolution for
Okay,
regular
second.
business.
Yeah, we already have a second, sorry.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll take the motion for the 6 items on the consent agenda.
Move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 6 as presented.
Second, discussion.
There's been a motion and a second for the 6 items on the consent agenda. Discussion.
These are consent items, so normally they're not discussion items, but rather than take our time to separate it, I'll just note that item 5 is the transfer of the ARPA funds for the payout of the retention incentive, an action that I did not vote for. So at the board's discretion, I can either vote no on the whole consent or we can separate that out, whatever the board prefers.
I would prefer you make an amendment to remove number 5.
Okay, move to amend the motion for approval of the consent to move item 5 for separate consideration.
So we have a motion and amendment. The amendment is there a second for the amendment?
I made the motion.
I know, but he made an amendment
All right.
to the motion. I believe we have to have a second for that. I'll second it. So with that, we'll vote on removing 5 away from the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Point of order.
It's required to vote on the amendment before you vote on the primary motion. So if we could vote on the removal of 5 first, that would be helpful.
All in favor of removing 5, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I have no opposition to it.
Okay, it's unanimous. So now we'll go to items 1 through 4 and 6 in the consent agenda. Without further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. To item number 5, all in favor of Resolution 2023-230, transfer of ARPA funds for the payout of the retention incentive as approved in Resolution 2023-203. All in favor say aye.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. There's
Point of
no
order.
motion on the table. There needs to be a motion for approval of 2023-230. I'm unable to do that because I'll be voting no.
Move for approval of Resolution 2023-230 as presented.
I second. All in favor of Resolution 2023-230, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Down to regular business. We have Resolution 2023-227, Mr. Bratton.
Yes, sir. Yes, this is a request by the city of Pasco regarding their mitigation requirements associated with the expansion of their processing facility as they moved on to the new area for the lagoons. The city and wildlife, they put together this agreement. They presented it to us and are seeking our approval of it. So the process and the way this works is the city and wildlife determined there were SEPA wildlife mitigation shrub step habitat. They came to an agreement. Then they asked the conservation district, is this mitigation amount okay? But because it's our jurisdiction, the conservation district kind of works as our agent in these types of matters. So that's why it's here for approval. We would have to sign off. Basically, we're saying, yeah, we're okay with that amount. This is only to the specific project. It's not something that's countywide or anything like that. It's what they worked out between themselves. Frankly, the county was not actually involved in the mitigation pricing points or anything like that. That's some formula that conservation and the state uses to make those determinations usually.
Discussion? Questions?
It's hot.
Yeah. Now you know we got an emergency on there.
I believe you've never been in this situation where we didn't have questions for you.
Yeah, I'm just happy to answer them if there are any that I can.
If there are no questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
Move for, I'm sorry.
go on.
No, if you have questions, go ahead.
No, it wasn't a question. I was going to make a motion, but please go ahead.
Move for approval of Resolution 2023-227 as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for Resolution 2023-227. With no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton. Next, we have a grant contract in the amount of $281,691.33 granted to Ms. Orozco, our district court judge. And I would just like to turn it over to her and say thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Tell us about it.
So, successful first-time grant writer. I should get a job.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. I would like to request the signature authority to sign this grant. It is for, as you said, $281,000 and some change. The majority of the funds are to be allocated to personnel salaries and benefits. I did get with HR and got some numbers together as far as how much that would cost us. And we're kind of in the ballpark. If we can fill out both positions available, so court coordinator and a case manager, at the full maximum amount pay, which is not anticipated, but if we were to do that, Franklin County would only have to pay $2,295 remaining on the amount due. The grant does state that any additional funds we have, so if we can't fill the positions, we only fill one position, that we can use the rest of that money to fund an OPD attorney contract or the prosecutor's office to have somebody come in and handle the cases. So we have a lot of broad range in what we can do with it, but most of it has to go towards salaries and benefits. The rest of it is kind of divvied out between a number of different categories. There is equipment and technology, so we can get some computers, cell phones, or anything we need in that regard. There will be training and travel. It will provide for some, but not all of the training and travel required. There's also, and not included in anyone else's budget, but our budget will now include a treatment requirement or category, which will allow us to help provide those extra medical services to people that don't have the funds to do so. So I believe, if I can look here, we have $25,833 to help pay for individuals who are not covered by insurance or the co-pays that maybe they can't afford. We also have $10,000 in recovery supports, and I was looking at that going, what is a recovery support? And where can we use this? And it turns out it's transportation, housing, bus passes. If somebody comes in and they don't have food, we can help give them some food. Any incentives we can't provide, but we can provide the essential tools necessary to get here to work on the program, and then assistance with the medical costs in order to get into treatment or get into housing. So we have some broad range here. From what I understand, the state has allocated these funds, and they're not going to pull them back. It's forever, or as long as we need them. So next year, we will have to reapply, show them where our budget went, show them how much we spent, where we spent it. Maybe if we need more money, we can request more. If we didn't meet those goals, then they may take some away. But overall, as long as we have those people on staff who are providing those services, it will cover those costs. So I am requesting that you give me the authority to sign this grant right now. I have a case coordinator position ready to be posted so that we can get on hiring. I'm already a month and 2 weeks maybe behind because we just received notice, but it goes back to July 1st. So I want to make sure that we get things going here. We get the job posted, we get someone hired, and they get in here to start the work to get these courts together.
Good deal. Questions?
What's been the success of the therapeutic court?
So the success rate, really, I know you guys asked this, Judge Burroughs just recently. It really depends on the court that we're looking at. They have up to 80% success rate depending on what stats. I spoke to Judge Burroughs after he was here, and he stated he was looking at pulling triple I's on all the individuals who participated in his drug court program. And he's said at this point, he's seen that the higher, previously I think it was 60%, he was reporting it's actually higher than that. So we're working to get specific numbers relative to Benton County, but they're showing a 60%, at least a 60% success rate. Now, Superior Court only looks at Superior Court numbers, felonies. We're also looking at district court numbers. So DUIs, assaults, any of those cases that we may see, it's actually providing reduced recidivism there as well.
All right. Thank
Judge, you mentioned that these funds are flexible and can be used in a number of different ways within certain broad categories. Who is making the determinations as to how much goes into which area? Is that a collaboration between prosecutor's office and yourself and defense, or how does that process work in your mind?
So right now, I'm listed as the individual who makes that determination. I'm hoping to hand the reins over to the coordinator so that they can look at what's needed here. But they did specify, and I hope you guys received copies of the grant that I provided. It does show $235,000 goes to personnel salary and benefits. So we can play around as far as who we get in here and how much we pay them. If it goes to the prosecutors, if it goes to a public defender, but that has to stick with salaries and benefits. There is a 10% adjustment that we can look at, and we can increase one of the categories by 10% of the total budget. But I like the way that they broke up the numbers. I think it's going to be kind of a good roadmap for us to make sure that we're staying within a specific budget criteria. I've looked at different jurisdictions' budgets, and it seems like it's pretty on point with what they have, other than the jurisdictions I've found do not have that requirement or budget line for treatment services or recovery supports. So we're going to have some extra there that we can assist. There will be some assistance that we need with some travel and training. There's requirements that you attend certain training, and one of them, the big national one, is going to be in California next year. There is one coming up in a couple, maybe a month or two, and that will be in Seattle. So that's close, and I hope to have somebody on board at that point so we can both go and get that training.
Well, I'll add my congratulations on the grant. I don't know what the history is on getting this grant. Doesn't really matter. We've got it this year. Hopefully the implied promises of ongoing funding hold up. Our legislature's not famous for following through on that, but hey, it's on the table. At least we've got a shot at it. And lastly, the legislature, I have found, is famous when we go looking for funding or support to look at all the different ways that they've given us money for a particular need in the past, and if we haven't used it there, then we get our knuckles wrapped and they tell us, we gave you the opportunity to fund, say OPD, but you didn't use it, so we're not going to help you. So just a thought that as you're deciding where these funds go, ensuring that some goes in the prosecution side, some goes in the defense side, it helps to defend against those arguments from the legislature, because they do like to look and say, well, you've got this grant and you could have used that for defense. Why didn't you? So I'd love to be able to say, well, actually, we spread it across the board. So
Right, and I'm excited at the opportunity to be able to do that, and I know I can spend all this money. I'm a spender. I can make this happen.
Sure.
So I'm ready for that. My biggest concern right now is getting the coordinator on board so that we can start getting the process going.
Are we going to be able to use this in conjunction with Benton County with what we have going on? Or are we looking to do our own thing here in Franklin County?
We're doing our own thing here for this.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I spoke with the city of Pasco's judge today, and he is interested in seeing if we can contract to maybe figure something out. Now, whether the city councilor is supportive of that, I don't know. I think that will probably be a commissioner thing and not a me thing. But it sounds like Mr. Sant, Mr. Rio, and Judge Stillwell are all on board to, kind of service the people in our area and our community here.
And this is indefinite. They don't have a term of this expiring?
Well, every year you reapply and you show them what you've done, and there's a lot of requirements as far as just compliance-wise and upkeep. But as long as you're using your money and you're successful, and you show them your metrics and you show them your recidivism rates and you show them where you've used the treatment services money or where you've used the housing money, they'll continue to provide it.
Are there any other questions or comments?
no.
Maybe just for the public's knowledge, what's a very short, brief description of the therapeutic courts?
So we're going to take individuals with mental health and recovery substance abuse issues, and we're going to put them in a program where we have very strict follow-through and support. So we're going to get them into treatment programs, hopefully assist with the housing issues, help with employment, and make sure they maintain sobriety and also the medication that they're provided if it's a mental health situation. Ensure that they're going to counseling and doing all that's required by their treatment provider. There are strict sanctions if they fail to follow through, and there's also a lot of support if they are successful. So our goal here is to help people help themselves, not to give them a free pass. They're still looking at jail, work crew, or other sanctions, but to help them kind of give that additional support that they need in order to get crime-free, and also be able to support their families. That's really the ultimate goal.
And this is on a voluntary basis.
They can be recommended, yes. They would need to volunteer for the program.
Right.
But I know Benton County is full, so there's not an issue with getting people involved in the program because they do get a lot of benefits. But I think a lot of our needs are here in the community. We can see right across the street in the park. There's gonna be people who should participate in the program. Now, whether or not they're willing to do so is going to be on them, but if we can get them in, I think we can help them.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And you're just looking for
I just
a
need your okay to
consensus.
sign this contract.
Are you just looking for a consensus, or?
I'm just looking for go sign it.
Yeah, there really probably ought to be, my opinion, a resolution delegating that authority formally. If I were you, that's what I would want. I think certainly you could seek consensus from the board, and that could be added for the agenda next week as an administrative formality. You'd have a video record of the consensus.
And the reason why we're here today and the reason why I did it this way is because on Tuesday, I received notice right after the meeting, and I came down and I said, what do I do? And they said, let's get you on so you can present it, and hopefully you can get the okay. Now, with the movement of our commissioner meetings to Wednesday, I can't come. Maybe on the end of the month, we have a conflict docket where I can show up, but Wednesday's my busy day.
I think you could just have staff put it on the, just have staff put it on the consent agenda, so long as the board gives consent today.
Okay.
I think for me, that would be fine. Obviously, I can't speak for the board, but I'm just thinking that for compliance, grant monies are the things that get audited the most.
Mm-hmm.
And were I you in spending $281,000, I would want something in writing
Right.
that says that the legislative body has delegated signature authority, because we're legally the only ones that can do contracts.
Right. So I can do that if you want me to put it on next week. Absolutely.
I just think a simple resolution.
Perfect. I will.
Thank
You
you.
have my consensus, so if you're
Thank you.
asking for that, yes, go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I'm going to sign it with the understanding that we're going to sign next week if that works.
Perfect. The time is of the essence, so you can get started, is that correct?
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Moves us down to Resolution 2023-231, adoption of Franklin County Guidelines for Commissioners' Meetings and Code of Conduct. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this presentation on the Code of Conduct, this is something at your direction, Chair. We've worked on with Dwayne Davidson, Jennifer Medelez, Jeff Briggs out of the PA's office. It's designed so we can function better in these meetings, especially during commissioners' meetings when we're talking about various things. So that's sort of how I'll tee it up, and then I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to review and look through it?
I have.
I have some thoughts on it when the time's appropriate.
No better time than right now.
Okay.
If you got questions?
We'll skip over some of the minor administrative things about how this came to be. This is really the kind of thing that should be the subject of a workshop or a discussion with the board where we all weigh in and offer inputs to it. And since, as you'll note, this is a self-imposed set of guidelines, to have someone prepare them out of sight and out of discussion with us and just hand them to us and say, here they are, I think is a minor misstep. We should have been involved and should have done this in a workshop. That said, I'll take a minute. I'll go as quickly as I can, but I'll run through these points and speak to the ones that I have concerns about. First off, let's just go right to item 2, that members will put away their cell phones. I would suggest that really it should just say that members should silence their cell phones. This isn't an elementary school. I use my phone on a regular basis to reference past meetings from the week when I'm giving my updates and reports. I use it as a calculator. I use it for a number of things. And not to overlook the fact that putting away a cell phone is a little silly when you've got a MacBook in front of you. So I think we're all adults here, and we ought to just agree that we should silence our cell phones, but to expect us to put them away is probably a little beyond where we need to go. Item 4, a member may interrupt a speaker in order to make a point of order, which should be done infrequently. I would offer that should be done as needed. Hopefully, that's infrequently. Item 5, during business meetings, all remarks must be addressed to the chair, and members may not speak directly to each other. I would say that should delete all remarks must be addressed to the chair, and should say during business meetings, members may not speak directly to each other. There are times when we are speaking to the public, as I am doing now. I'm not speaking to other commissioners, And the way that's written, that would exclude that. On item 6, this is about work study sessions, et cetera. It can be in a conversational mode. That the chair will ensure that everyone has an equal chance to speak and that no one person dominates the discussion. That's an overreach from the standpoint that when we're having a discussion about a topic that is on a work study or a session, let's just pick the state of hay farming in Franklin County and its potential impacts on Franklin County economics and export of Franklin County products. That's a topic you're not going to hear me say much about because I don't know much about it. But it's a topic that I'm going to want other commissioners who know a lot about it to speak a great deal more than me, and in fact to dominate that discussion. So really, who speaks and how much they speak should be predicated on the needs of the body and the expertise on the subject. And it shouldn't be a forced equation that everybody speaks exactly 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it is. We should utilize the talents that exist on the board and draw on the expertise. Item 7 says that questions for presenters or staff may not be lengthy exchanges. When the judge is here, if I had 6 more questions, I should feel free as a representative of Franklin County residents to ask all the germane and relevant questions that I need as a decision maker to support her request for us to delegate a signature authority for a contract. Those things should not be artificially limited. We're here to do a purpose, a job. We shouldn't be excessive about it, but we shouldn't be constrained in our ability to get information that we need to make good decisions. On number 8, discussion should be focused on the issues at hand and remarks must be relevant. Well, relevancy of remarks is highly subjective. Let's keep that in mind. And there's many more here. I'm trying to go quickly. There's a reference in number 9 about insults, personal attacks, vulgarity, obscenity, inflammatory language is never allowed. I think we can all agree on that. Members may not criticize the body. Well, what's being said here is that commissioners cannot criticize the Board of Commissioners. Not that we can't criticize, we should not criticize one another individually, but we can't criticize the board either. And I would just make the point that when a commissioner, I don't care who it is, has a concern about an action that this body has taken, I don't think it's just a good idea for them to speak up. I think they have a duty to speak up to the public and say, I think that's a bad decision and here's why. This would essentially make that difficult to do. I've got several others and I don't want to take any more time. I think this needs to be workshopped. I don't have an opposition to having something like this, but not having input in advance to the content in a group discussion is problematic. The 2 that I'm going to call out and then I'll stop are the last 2 in the duties section where it says a commissioner shall not seek confidential or privileged information, including personnel information, from any staff member without going through the county administrator. Frankly, I don't know what confidential or privileged information we'd be talking about here. And then secondly, it says commissioners are not to talk to department heads or directors without the county administrator's knowledge. Well, the way I see it, the county administrator works for the Board of Commissioners, not the other way around. And the Board of Commissioners work for the people. And if I need to speak to Public Works or Planning or any other department to get information so that I can vote on matters up here, I fully intend to do that. Now, I don't have any objection to the courtesy of letting the county administrator know, but I'm not going to be bound by a document that tells me that I have to go to the county administrator and seek his consent or make sure that he's aware that I'm talking to Franklin County team members who work for this board ultimately. I skipped over about a dozen things in there in the interest of time. I'd like to see this put into some workshop time for a future meeting so the board can have a discussion about the points I've raised and the several other points that are in here. Again, not opposed to Robert's rules. I've been asking for them for years. This is a highly diluted version of Robert's rules, but I can live with it. But these specific rules and the language need to be decided up here, not by a group of people in a room last week. Thank you.
Commissioner Mullen,
Yeah.
you got anything to say?
I have no opposition to the workshop, by no means at all. I think that's, probably a good idea. I don't really see anything in here that is, out of the ordinary, except for maybe not being able to speak to, I think it's number 9. No, let's see. About talking to the other electeds without the administrators' knowledge. I mean, there's lots of everyday questions that come up and concerns that I don't necessarily feel I need to let somebody know I'm going to go talk to the auditor or the assessor. Nothing, I'm open to, being as transparent as possible, but it almost sounds like I have to ask permission to do so, and that's the only one I see that that I might have a little question on. But I'm not opposed to doing a workshop. I think that's probably a good idea.
Mr. Gonzalez, does that sound like it could be,
Oh, absolutely. I
workshop?
think it'd be a good idea to discuss, and I mean, in the sake of transparency and better communication and
Yep.
and a better functioning board, and whether that's reaching out to my direct reports just for the record, I've never tried to prohibit my direct staff from talking to you guys. So I do ask for the courtesy. If one of the commissioners does talk to you, at least give me a heads up so I can help out.
No, I appreciate that because you've been more than transparent and been very good at keeping me informed, and I try to do that equally with you as possible. It's been a great benefit that I hadn't experienced in the past.
Appreciate it.
No, so you're doing a great job. Thank
Thanks.
you.
and I think this is a great start. We've got it out in the open air now, and I think that we should have a workshop work on it and put a code of conduct together. I think this is a great start, but we'll table it tonight and schedule a workshop.
Sounds great. I'll get to work on that.
Thank you. All right, that moves us down to public comment. Anybody in the room for public comment? Please come to the mic.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners and Mr. Gonzalez. I appreciate you allowing the public to speak. There's nothing more important than our First Amendment rights. And I do actually agree with some of what Commissioner Peck said, because we don't want our commissioners to feel limited in their speech either. We have to get the business done. Certainly, we can do that with decorum and without insults, but I'm here just, I understand the scenario between the auditor and the sheriff is still going on, and so I just wanted to give a few of my thoughts. I respect both our auditor and our sheriff, and I want to point that out. I want an auditor that is very, very particular and very good. I believe in process. I believe in having policy and things that we can do to make good communication. But my question was, because I've never known where an auditor was able to actually implement discipline. So I wasn't sure, was it the auditor who shut off his P card, the sheriff's P card, or did that go through the commissioners? Because it really should be. I mean, I look at my own children, and if I let one discipline the other, it's not going to go off very well. But if that child comes to me and says, hey, John's doing this, and I would definitely then be able to handle it and just have a discussion with that child. So I think when I was listening to the sheriff, he was concerned about his 14th Amendment rights under the Constitution. And I know that he protected me and my constitutional rights, and as did Commissioner Didier and Commissioner Mullen. So that to me is more important than anything, more important. I'm just wondering if that was the issue, and if there's a way that we can create a policy and a process of where things that are going wrong, because I know that the sheriff was being cheeky when he sent that picture. He doesn't drink, by the way. He's Baptist, and Baptists don't drink. So, but I just know that he did it to be funny, and it didn't come off well. But, so I'm just saying that people, I'm just hoping that we can create a process there where if the auditor finds something like this, and the sheriff had been not considerate of him, absolutely, that that could be brought to the commissioners, and the commissioners deal with that. So that's what my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. This is in reference to the awarding of the contract for the HAPO Center. I've known Steve and Shirley for over 30 years and have been their friend and competitor during that time. You'll not find any two more giving people involved in the community with their associations and different organizations over the years, as well as their commitment to our community. This is attested to their involvement in board member with the Washington State Hospitality Association, board member with Richland and Tri-City Chamber of Commerce, Hanford Reach Interpretive Center, and president of the foundation, Tri-City Sunrise and Columbia Center Rotaries. They were selected the 2017 Tri-City Citizens of the Year. They served on the Domestic Violence Franklin and Benton County Board, CBC Foundation. Shirley was elected or awarded the 2016 Athena Award for being a role model for women in business. Steve has served on the Visit Tri-Cities Board and many more. Not being busy enough in their life, they also saved the Meals on Wheels programs when they lost their lease in Pasco by opening their kitchen for 15 months, serving over 1,000 meals a day until a new facility was made available for Meals on Wheels. I know this does not create a resume for running a facility such as the HAPO Center, but they have increased profitability with the center since they have taken over. Their ability to execute and promote large events and their longevity in the business attests to a well-run business that continually improves upon itself. Their catering company is currently the busiest in the Tri-Cities and has the ability to handle a group of any size for the HAPO Center and do it well, which they have proved in their tenure there. The CG organization is continuing with their son Kyle, who has a degree in hotel restaurant management from WSU. Kyle will be taking over the helm under the business with the tutelage of his parents and in the community with his positions on the Goodwill Advisory Board, CBC Foundation Board, and the WSU Alumni Association Board. I'm a strong believer in keeping our profits with our local businesses as it keeps our community with jobs and opportunities. I see them achieving a good sense of consistency in what the hotel or the HAPO Center is going to need. When you bring events in, it needs to be consistent from group to group. The menu, the food, all that has to have a consistency when it goes along. That's what's going to bring people back in. They have the work with the community partners in the Tri-Cities, and I think they will achieve what needs to be done. This is a hard decision for you as commissioners. It's a long term and it's a big project. It's something that needs kind of hard to do in one night, but I think you should really look at what they can do for your facility, and I think they'll do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment?
George Dockstetter, Self Landing Road. I hate to do this because my wife's not going to believe it, but last week I was wrong. And that doesn't happen very often, at least in my mind, but I'm sure in hers it happens a lot. I said that we should keep the HAPO Center in local hands, but after seeing the proposals that were presented, I think the people from Boise are thinking a little outside the box, and maybe they can utilize or show us how to utilize not just the building and holding a certain event, but the excess property we have around there. What can we do to maximize the benefits for our county? And so I want to give a strong recommendation to the group out of Boise. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody on the phone?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Public comment? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Chris Watkins. I have been in the hospitality industry for quite a few years until I retired about 4 years ago. And I live over in Richland, 218 Hillview Drive, but was a Franklin County citizen for many, many years, and also was very instrumental in the start of TRAC many, many years ago. I'm here because I've worked with with Shirley and for quite a few years, and Steve, and I can attest firsthand that they are a very reputable company. Having marketed large facilities, including TRAC, over these many years, I find that it really depends on your marketing arm in your region, and it does take creativity. You need a good advisory board to take you in that direction. But I don't know hiring an outside firm if that's going to bring you any more business than what a local organization can do. And I can attest firsthand with Visit Tri-Cities that many of the things that happened with TRAC were as a result of working with the management. So with that, I hope you do consider hiring local. I believe that both Shirley and Steve Simmons would do you a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name's Phil Verzaglia. I do the concessions at the HAPO Center. I've been doing it for about 10 years now. So I started back with the first Tom, then went through the second Tom, now with the Simmons. And just being there for this almost past year with them, watching them with promoters and everything, everything's been going so much better there. The promoters have been happier, people have been happier, and they're awesome to work with. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? And we have nobody on the phone.
No, sir. No one on the phone.
All right, if there is nobody else coming forward for public comment, then we will move into Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a busy couple of weeks. Obviously, the HAPO RFP is on the top of my mind and taking a lot of the time. But I'll say this, I'm really proud of how our office has handled the process, and special thanks to Jeff Briggs in the prosecutor's office, who's really helped guide us through the process. And, we've expanded the scope a couple of times, but, I really felt like it gave applicants the opportunity to shine and articulate their vision. I think it gives clarity to the public. Originally having them present in front of the commissioners wasn't a part of the equation, but each of the three applicants agreed to it, thought it would be a good idea. I think all the commissioners thought it would be a good idea, and I'm certainly certain that the public thinks it's a good idea because it's a tough decision. We've got three great applicants. We've gotten a lot of input from a lot of different people, so it's a tough choice, but I think myself and this body, I think we walk away feeling good that we gave everyone the opportunity to shine. So, I wish them all the best of luck and what happens, and I certainly would be happy to work with any of them because all three are really great. Other things that are keeping us busy, obviously it's budget season, so that's in full swing. We're getting ready for that. Consor, our group that's working with the Strategic Growth Committee, is in town. They performed a lot of in-person interviews, so really excited. Had a call with them today about next steps. They're really going to get hot and heavy into the salary portion of that study, so really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. Congratulations to Judge Trinity Orozco. Worked with her a little bit on that, but she deserves all the credit. But I was really proud. She came running into my office saying, "Hey, I got the grant." So it felt good that she let me know. And I mean, the larger message to me was there's a connection point, that's happening in the courthouse. We're starting to work together, and it felt like a team effort. So just really excited about that process and creating our own therapeutic court, because it's something You know, we know the sheriff's been vocal about it, certainly, but I think that's just an awesome step in the right direction. We've been meeting, Margot Wilder and I and the staff with Hub Brokerage Firm, really digging into the benefits process and, you know, making that much more robust and affordable for our employees. So only other thing I'll mention is the Benton Franklin Behavioral Health Advisory Committee meeting. They selected the name for the Recovery Center. It'll be a Valley Center for Recovery. It's sort of a regional name. Did want to mention one more thing, but I'll wait till office business because it's with the Copa group, but I'll wrap it up there.
Thank you. Commissioner Peck.
A little more time than usual this week with the Washington State Association of Counties, in particular the Legislative Steering Committee. This is a time of year that we work to get all 39 counties on the same page as to what legislative agenda items we're going to pursue in Olympia starting in January when the new session starts. So we met with the LSC on Tuesday, again on Thursday. Met with Consor, as Mr. Gonzalez referenced a moment ago, the Franklin County Strategic Financial Plan. In that discussion, I was given to believe that the salary study was not part of this effort, so maybe offline you can enlighten me as to what the current status is on that. Met with the Washington State Aviation Advisory Board on the phone. This is a group that was established by the state legislature to advise them on how to grow the aeronautics and aviation industry in Washington State. It's a fairly small body. I'm privileged to be on that representing counties and aviation interests. One of the things that came out of that discussion is that the state really is very much looking at the Richland Airport as a reliever airport for Pasco in the future. And so working with the Richland Airport, even though they're not in Franklin County, is a Franklin County interest, helping them grow that airport, get more FAA money, improve the length of the runways, improve their helipads, all the myriad things we can do to get them ready for commercial jet traffic and be a partner with Pasco so that we, with our airport, are not limited in our growth here in Tri-Cities. So that was a particularly interesting one as a person who's got a long-standing interest in aviation. Thank you.
Commissioner Mullen.
So had the benefits committee, or I should say benefits meeting with Mike Gonzalez and Conover Insurance, going over the different programs and possible changes to insurance for county employees here in Franklin County. And then I just want to mention that the Ben Franklin Fair is coming up next week. Ben Franklin Transit will be providing rides to the fair. It's a great service, gets you to the front gate quickly and conveniently. And other than that, just discussion with citizens of Franklin County about the proposals for the HAPO Center. But that pretty much sums up my week. Thank you.
My last week was the elected department head meeting right here in this room. And then the Port of Pasco. A lot of stuff going on there. Too much to go into right now. Ben Franklin Transit meeting. Commissioner Mullen and I both serve on that board. They had an incident in Pasco here just the other day where there's probably some kids that got a BB gun for their birthday and they popped a couple buses, broke a window, hit another one, and I just want to let all the kids out there know that you could possibly hurt somebody pretty bad, and you want to treat every firearm with respect, even a BB gun. The agenda meeting, and then the primary election certification and the election certification for Connell. We had 3 people running for city council up there. We narrowed it to 2. And then a lot of phone calls, a lot of people talking about the HAPO. So that was my week. That moves us down to elected department head business. Is there any elected or department heads that would like to come forward and speak about anything? And I believe you want the phone call from Washington State Department of Agriculture on the line, right?
That's correct.
And his name is?
Camilo Acosta.
Yes. Is he online right now?
He's not.
Okay.
He said he was on hold.
If you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, I'll start. So, good evening, Commissioners and Administrator. Pam Loa, Horticultural Pest and Disease Board, and regretfully, I am here before you to inform you that we did have 2 additional catches of the Japanese beetle. And so at this point, I determined it was best to have Washington State Department of Agriculture come in and provide additional information as well as what the next steps will be. And so I'm hoping he's on the phone. He said he was on hold.
You said 2 more catches. Are those in
In addition
town?
to the 3, yeah.
Yeah, so
So now
are
we
they-
have 3 total.
Are these all in the city limits, or are they up north in Orchards?
They are in Pasco. And we had the first catch North Road 76, and then this one was like about 2 miles away off of Court Street and 34th, so near the post office, that area. And so, is he there?
Are you on the phone?
So Pam, if you wouldn't mind just enlightening the people of what this Japanese, okay.
Camilo, are you there? Camilla? Hello?
Camilla Costa.
Yes, hello.
Okay, good.
Everyone hear me?
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I was on the wrong line. I was not on the public comment line. I was on the listening line. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how far Pam was able to get. But hi, everybody. My name is Camilo Acosta. I am with the Washington State Department of Agriculture Pest Program. I am the Japanese beetle eradication coordinator. Pam probably started talking about a couple of Japanese beetle catches that we've had in Pasco in the last month. Before we get into that, I just want to give some background for folks that might not be familiar with Japanese beetle. Japanese beetle is an invasive beetle native to Japan and Southeast Asia. We have been fighting an infestation of Japanese beetle in Grandview and surrounding areas of Yakima and Benton County since 2020. Japanese beetle eats more than 300 species of plants. The adults skeletonize foliage. That's how they damage the plants, and of particular interest to them are corn, grapes, and hops. The larvae, or the grub, live underground, and they eat the roots of turf grass, which is a major concern for schools, parks, golf courses, and of course, sod farmers. 2021, we caught 24,000 Japanese beetles in Grandview, 23,000 in 2022, and so far this year, we have caught 12,651 in the Grandview area. So we do have a slight reduction after a year of eradication up there. But what I want to talk about now is our catches in Pasco. On July 14th, the Franklin County Pest Board caught a Japanese beetle in one of their traps on North Road 76, about a quarter mile south of where it intersects with Argent Road. WSDA's response to that was the deployment of more than 250 Japanese beetle traps in the area. We also had our plant services program begin inspection of nurseries in the area for possible signs of Japanese beetle and damages. We also had a great collaboration with the Franklin County Pest Board. They have been able to continue trapping outside of our established trapping area. They're really helping us out that way. And of course, stepping up our outreach in the area to encourage residents to report Japanese beetle. Since then, we have inspected those 250 traps, and yesterday, August 14th, WSDA caught 2 additional Japanese beetles at the intersection of North Road 34 and West Court Street. Now, our response to that is similar. We're deploying additional traps in the area, and our plant services program is going to continue inspecting nurseries in that new catch area to find the Japanese beetle, and of course, reminding residents in the media and at other in-person events to please report Japanese beetle if they see it. And really, the way to do that is, a lot of people, are gardeners, spend a lot of time in their backyards. If you see something that you just have never seen before, we encourage folks to email us at the WSDA. You can email pictures and report Japanese beetle and other suspect insects to pest program at agr.wa.gov. Now, the August 14th catch is significant in more than one way because we now have caught more than one Japanese beetle in Pasco. We had a similar situation last year in Richland where we caught one Japanese beetle at a Home Depot in Richland, and we had the same exact response as this year, and we didn't catch any additional beetles the rest of the season. We were hoping that would be the case here, but seeing as we caught 2 additional beetles, we now have to start investigating the possibility of a population living in Pasco. And with that comes some discussions that the department has to have regarding strategies for eradication of populations of Japanese beetles, similar to what we're doing in Grandview and in Wapato as well, with chemical control and treatment of properties in infested areas. And we do need to start the conversation regarding what we would do in the situation where we would need to incorporate this area into the internal quarantine that we currently operate in Grandview and surrounding areas. So there are a lot of implications with this catch. Right now, what we need to do is keep monitoring the traps in the area, encourage residents to report, because we need to see how many, if we catch any more beetles in the area, and that'll help us gauge the strategy that we go with coming into next spring. So we trap through October, and so for now, we're going to keep monitoring, and then towards the end of the summer, early fall, we will begin crafting more concrete plans with how we're going to deal with Japanese beetle in Franklin County and surrounding areas nearby in Benton County. Thank you.
Questions? I have a question for you. What is the attractant or the bait that you're using in your traps?
So the traps that the department uses, as well as Franklin County Pest Board, you might have seen them, folks probably seen them. It's a green trap with a yellow vein on top, and the yellow vein has a slot for a dual lure, and that lure is made up of a synthetic flower scent called geraniol, and as well as a Japanese beetle pheromone. So the traps attract both male and female beetles with those 2 scents.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments?
I'll just offer an observation. Toward the latter part of my Air Force career, I had the pleasure, I guess, of being stationed at Scott Air Force Base, which is in southern Illinois, just about 10 minutes east of St. Louis. And it was not uncommon for our Japanese beetle traps in the front yard to have a few hundred Japanese beetles. And if you had 3 traps, you had 200 or 300 in each trap. So they proliferate and they populate quickly. And I just am, Pam and I talked about this briefly in the past. I feel for you, because this is not a simple thing to get your arms around, and it's going to take resources and it's going to take time. But I think trying to catch it now before you literally have hundreds, if not 1,000 a week in your yard eating everything that's in your yard, which is the experience we had in Illinois. Getting ahead of it is going to be important. Thanks.
Absolutely, and what we want to prevent in Pasco, Richland, Kennewick is, proliferation of the problems where we have it to be the size of Grandview, where we were catching tens of thousands of beetles a few years ago. So I'm with you.
All right, well, thank you very much. Pam, do you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you.
So just in closing, so we, pest boards with the 2 other counties, so Walla Walla and Benton, as well as the Noxious Weed Board, will be at the county fair. And we'll be answering questions about Japanese beetle as well as backyard fruit tree health. So thank you for your time.
Do you have a booth at the fair?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Yeah.
good deal.
Come visit.
All righty. All right. So is there any other elected or department heads that would like to come to the mic? Seeing none coming forward, I will move down to administration office business and Mr. Gonzalez, the presentation for the HAPO Center RFP.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, we have a big night. The 3 applicants for the HAPO Center RFP will present this evening. For the public's knowledge, this is the 3rd layer of vetting of this process. HAPO Advisory Board reviewed the applications. The Franklin County Strategic Growth Committee has reviewed and also graded the RFP applications. And so we're here this evening. We've got 3 outstanding companies, including Simmons Venue Management, Harris White Leisure Group, and the International Promotions. So we've already decided the order. Simmons Venue Management will go first, Harris White Leisure Group will go second, and International Promotions will go third. All have agreed to this, and all have agreed to 10-minute presentations followed by a 10-minute Q&A session by the commissioners. And I'll ask each commissioner to ask at least one question, and hopefully they'll have the opportunity to make a closing statement. So with all that being said, let's welcome SVM to the microphone. Yes, please.
Jesus, chairs are heavy.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and start by introducing myself. My name is Kyle Simmons. I am the Vice President of SNS Hospitality and also a co-owner in Simmons Venue Management.
My name is Shirley Simmons, and I am president of SNS Hospitality and business partner with SVM.
Steve Simmons, I'm the CFO for CG Public House and Catering, and I'm also a member of the SVM LLC.
Okay, so just a little background. Simmons Venue Management has overseen the management of all facets of the HAPO Center since November 2022. This includes facility maintenance, event and trade show sets, event sales, lease management with the arena and lease management with the arena and the pavilion, and also vendor management. SVM would like the opportunity to continue the management of the HAPO Center. The success of the HAPO Center is vital to the economic impact of Franklin County, City of Pasco, and the greater Tri-City area. So why SVM? Local and community ties. We have been doing business in the greater Tri-Cities area for 45 years. Our connections to this community are strong because we have roots here and deeply care about the continued growth and success of the area. Our company continues to give back to the community by gainfully employing 60 to 100 people every year. Due to our investment in the community, we have gained a large following of supporters. This has been more evident in this past month during this RFP process. Our leadership team has won many awards, including Steve and Shirley being named 2017 Tri-Citians of the Year, Shirley being awarded 2016 Ruby Award, and in 2017 the Athena Award. Steve was the first recipient of the Link Award awarded by CBC. Between all 3 of us, we currently serve and have served on 13 nonprofit boards. Steve and Shirley both are current Rotarians.
Proven success. Our family has been successful in business for over 4 decades.
we have proven our success at the HAPO Center, both financially and through client retention. We have been able to operate the HAPO Center by managing expenses and now operating with a surplus. We have received multiple letters from support from the HAPO Center promoters, the larger promoters, and here's just a few of the direct quotes from their letters. They have strong commitment to the HAPO Center and its naming rights, their ability to quickly pivot and make things happen, going above and beyond sets, and I think my favorite, they strive to make our events run smoothly and operate as an extension of our team. Innovative. For example, CG was the first to create drive-through markets in the early 2020 during COVID. This was not only helped save CG from failing like many other businesses, but this also helped save dozens of small businesses. CG organized weekly markets that were highly successful and offered at no cost to any of the vendors.
Industry knowledge. Country Gentlemen started catering in 1996, and throughout the years have become incorporated as S&S Hospitality and has grown to be the largest catering company serving the Tri-Cities, Southeast Washington, and Northeast Oregon. National awards, Best in Show multiple years at International Catering Convention in Las Vegas. We've been voted as the Tri-Cities Best Caterer for 8 years in a row. Kyle has a Bachelor of Arts in Hospitality Business Management from Washington State University. We currently operate the premium seating building at Martin Stadium in Pullman, where we successfully serve thousands of guests during every home football game. S&S Hospitality was also the exclusive caterer for the Pendleton Convention Center from 2017 to 2021. Kyle has been in the hospitality industry for 20 years. Part of that time he spent working for one of the industry's largest companies, the Darden Restaurants. Shirley has been in the hospitality industry for 45 years. 11 years of that she spent at Tualatin Country Club, one of the Portland Metro's largest event venues. There she was involved in all aspects of events such as facilities, sales, and management.
Yeah, vision. Vision. Our vision is to be the leading multi-space convention center in the Tri-City area, attracting an array of private events, trade shows, concerts, recreational, and cultural events. We believe that through hard work and dedication, we are confident that we can bring new opportunities to the HAPO Center and retain current clients and promoters. Actively seeking new business and old business relationships being fostered. We are currently in talks and are meeting with an executive from a very large promotion company in mid-September. Old businesses and relationships need to be fostered. That's extremely important, and we have been actively doing that. Create new events promoted by the HAPO Center. For example, vendor village, community events that bring in people in the center, placing a seed in their mind for future business. Breakfast with Santa, including real reindeer and children and Santa Claus during the holidays. Car shows in the parking lot. HAPO Center sponsored Easter egg hunts for the community. Weekly summer 2024 pop-up markets. The possibilities are endless there.
We want to monetize every inch of the space. For example, using the parking lot for pop-up markets, car shows, etc., utilize the atrium during trade shows to create a type of food court, creating opportunities for more food vendors. Increase the economic impact of the region. The main job of Convention Center is not only to provide a great space for events, but it is also to attract events to increase the economic impact of the region through increased revenues in our restaurants, shops, and hotels.
In late 2017, we took over the catering for the HAPO Center, and we've created a stellar reputation with HAPO Center clients. 10 months ago, because of the exit of the HAPO management staff, we were faced with a dilemma. We were facing a very busy fall, but we took the initiative and stepped in where no one else could and made the fourth quarter of the HAPO Center a success. Since that time, we have been creating relationships with hoteliers, Visit Tri-Cities, and promoters. We believe we have earned this contract, and we believe the community will continue to support us. Commissioners, we respectfully ask for the opportunity for this contract.
Can I just jump in? We went a little bit of ahead. I still want to talk about capital investment very fast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. In the short term, there are some things that need to be addressed at the HAPO Center. We need to replace damaged equipment, including tables and chairs. And most importantly is to replace all the damaged ceiling tiles throughout the HAPO Center from all the leaking roofs and everything. So that's all been repaired, so we look forward to replacing that. Also, to create a new outdoor space for events, I think that's really important for the HAPO Center. Next 2 to 5 years, we want to repair or replace the parking lot asphalt. We think that's really important. It's been neglected over the years. Install air conditioning into the arena. That'll be really important for any summer events summer events that we would like to have in the arena. Install new expo flooring. That will need to be done probably in the next 4 or 5 years. And then also new carpet in the atrium. That carpet's pretty old, and I think that it needs to be replaced within the next 3 to 5 years. And finally, bathroom updates. The bathrooms are very dated, so we think that those could also use some attention as well. So, any questions?
All right, just about spot on. Questions? We'll start with Commissioner Peck.
Well, I've got a few questions, but as I think them through, I think I'll defer to Commissioner Mullen, let him kick us off.
As far as the improvements, how are you going to pay for those?
So hopefully through a surplus, as we've seen over the last 10 months, using that surplus money to pay for it would be how I think that we would pay for it, and I think that's the best route for the county.
Do you have any estimated cost of what it costs to air condition the?
I could not imagine right now what that would cost, and that's, yeah.
How long has the arena side been without air conditioning?
I don't think it's ever had air conditioning. It's only had heating.
It's never had air conditioning?
No, never.
No. What is the most important goal of someone that leases the facility? When they leave the HAPO Center, what is their most important goal that you help them achieve?
What do you mean by, can you expand on leasing it? So,
Well, if somebody comes and does a event.
Oh, okay.
That you leased them, or you.
we rent the space for a period of
Yes.
time. Can you finish the question?
What is the most important goal that you want to see your leasee receive when they leave the HAPO Center after their event?
A completely successful event for them, and also, retaining their business for future events. So if you're talking about, for example, a corporate event, we want to make sure that their event goes on without a hitch and there's no interruptions. And, hopefully they come back in future years to increase the success of the HAPO Center in the future.
I would imagine that attracting new clients to the HAPO Center would be one of the hardest goals. How are you going to achieve that?
Yeah.
So what we have been doing, we have been carrying on business as usual, and we do quite a few different things in our office. One of the biggest things that we've been able to do is we have logs of customers going back to 2014, I think is how far we went back. And we have Laura in our office. She's here in the audience tonight. And that's all she does, is she calls people that used to come to the track and then HAPO Center, and talks to them. Do you still have this event? Would you like to consider coming back to us? What can we do? Can we bring you in for a visit? Those are the kinds of things that I think at the HAPO Center you have to have great hospitality ethics, and that is something we have. We've heard time and time again when people leave our facility there that it was a great event, it was great food, our employees are just amazing. You know, they do things before even asked, you know, they anticipate everybody's needs. And those are the kind of things that you like to hear from a customer when they leave. You want them to come back, you want different kinds of business. If they come for a wedding, then you want maybe an anniversary or a baby shower or a birthday party. If they come for an event that has to do with business, you want their Christmas party, you want their business meetings, and the only way you do that is by building relationships. I'm a great relationship builder, and I do that all the time. That's probably one of the biggest success of our company is building relationships, whether they're in the valley, they're up north. We do a lot of catering, you know, and have events up in Connell and Othello and Hermiston and Pendleton, Walla Walla. We go down to, gosh, this year we've been all the way down the gorge, Hood River. We go to Sunnyside, Grandview, and we have a lot of just great customers. We're bringing some of those customers to the HAPO Center. We have been able to retain and bring back the Amazon company. They were with us a few years ago at the HAPO Center, and then they stopped coming. And they were in the park last year. And we talked to them. They're going to be here in September. And it's just all about building relationships, and you have to foster them. And I think that's what people like to see and hear and feel. They want to feel good when they leave an event, and I think we make them feel very good.
What is the main goal of the HAPO Center?
You know, I guess I would like to see it as a goal as being a multi-use facility. You know, it started out as trade, recreation, agricultural center. I would like to put an E in there for entertainment. I think that that is the goal. I think that still is the goal. I've had many conversations with Colin Hastings. He told me I could use his name. And we would like to bring back the Eastern Washington Egg Show. We want to bring back their big Hall of Fame dinner. We want to bring back their barn burners, some of the things that used to happen there. And we're on board to help them. So that would be the goal, is to just a multi-use of events.
All right, thank you. I have no more questions.
Commissioner Peck?
So having been here for a number of years, I've watched the evolution of the track and now the HAPO Center. And it's been my view that there have been two things that have really held the facility back, or the program. One was that I don't think we really had fine-tuned our leadership team to make the most of the facility. And the other is that the facility is aging, and we haven't had the capital funds to make the necessary improvements. Now, we've done some of that through some pretty creative programs with home builders and the concrete in the arena and some other things. But with that as a backdrop, some of the people who have contacted me in the last week, well, frankly, I've had people in the last week contact me supporting all three of the applicants in one fashion or another. But I'm pretty mindful of the fact that we're not the Kingdom. We're not the large entertainment kind of facility or venue where you can bring in tens of thousands of people for a concert. But I am curious as to what you think our potential is. Where's that delta between what we're doing now and what you think the facility could do if it had the appropriate resources and capital investment?
So in the arena is probably one of the biggest areas that we have to work on. And I think it holds 3,600 and then 5,000 maybe on the whole floor. So a lot of events like you see at the casinos, especially the old school kind of concerts, comedians, monster trucks, Jurassic Quest just rebooked today, in fact. Things like that, they want the whole facility because they need it. These big groups need the entire facility. Last year, Jurassic Quest came, and they could only have, the expo side, and it just couldn't be the potential that it normally is. Circuses, those kind of things are really attracted to our kind of facility, and the actual appearance is not as important. Weddings, I love weddings. We have been able to book some weddings this year, and the atrium is, pardon me? The atrium is a great outlet for that, and we would like to enhance that because the slowest months at the center are the June, July, August, and it's our intent to really go after those social events like weddings and anniversaries and quinceañeras.
Okay, and the second piece, rather than make it a question, I'll just make the observation in the interest of time that a lot of the land surrounding the facility belongs to the county. It isn't necessarily part of the HAPO facility. But I think the county can aid the future of the HAPO Center by looking to those properties and seeing what sort of additional things could be done there. But they're not inherently part of the HAPO Center, and just want people to be aware of that. Thanks.
So are you guys managing the ice arena?
Yeah, we're currently in negotiations with them for their new lease.
What's your future plans for it and the repair of the ice machine? You never mentioned that in your presentation.
So that's still being negotiated with us, so with them, because, you know, they want a reduced rent. So whatever we think is the best thing to do would obviously come to the commissioners, because the ice machine is a huge investment.
Yes.
And so that would be something that the commissioners would.
So my second question is, the hotels and motels are relying on this for filling the rooms. Weddings won't fill the rooms, local weddings. We need outside coming in. What are your plans there to fill rooms and create what they need, people in the rooms?
So we are very active in the last 10 months with Visit Tri-Cities. And with that, that is a lot of the impact. We fill out a lot of these, I guess it's a proposal, it's an IDSS, and that is what brings, you know, the 80 rooms. It's all the conferences. Unfortunately, you're always a couple years behind. So they've been going in, now they're already booked through 24. So we've been sending out many proposals for 25 and 26, and they all are conferences that do have heads in beds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll get a reset here and then welcome the Harris White Leisure Group.
Commissioners, good evening.
Good evening.
If you guys could talk into the mics as best as you can, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
We will. You get another one.
Commissioners, Mr. Gonzalez, my name is Wesley Harris. I represent here today the Harris White Leisure Team. And so in doing so, I'd like to introduce Marshall Myers, my assistant, and Larry Leisure with White Leisure. So we appreciate you asking us back to speak on this again. So in doing so, go ahead. Who are we? So W. Harris, GSE Incorporated, has been around for about 45 years. We're contract managers, we build building operations and maintenance, we operate facilities across the United States. About 99% of our facilities are federal. We do federal, state, city, local, and municipality. And in those facilities, go ahead, we do, I'm sorry, go back one. I'm all about talking about myself. Let me talk about my team a little bit. So why a team? Because we're all experts and we have a lot of expertise in our fields. So each one of us can focus on what we do and what we do only without concerns about doing something we're not the best at. So White Leisure, right, they do master planning, development services, they do negotiations and property management. They're kind of like the big view, long-term planning. Tag Entertainment, Tag Presents, they do events as large as they're doing in San Diego, large seating events of up to 100,000. They're national, they've been all around the country, and they're actually out of Boise right now. They'll be doing the event planning, booking, sales, and location utilization. So what we bring, the community benefit that we see the team can bring to them is you can create more frequent and effective events and drive excitement to the center. We look at facilitating small business growth via vendor agreements and partnerships with the center. We also create community-oriented opportunities that are not focused on economic benefit. In other words, we do a lot of nonprofits. We have our own nonprofit. We have several hundred employees that are severely disabled veterans and persons. And what we do is we brought them into the community and our communities and future communities and gave them gainful employment. So as far as the community benefit consideration, I'm going to read this along with everybody else. We're going to produce a positive financial impact on the center and can reinvest in the local community. People are always talking about, should the center make money? Should it be profitable? The answer is yes. Because the more money we can drive out of the center, the more you can put back into your community and community events. So yes, it shouldn't be something that loses money. Establish the HAPO Center, HAPO, anybody get HAPO? Thank you. I actually know what it stands for, okay? As a premier community center for local and cultural and social events, and create positive growth channels for local businesses, including partnering with hotels and vendors, which of course means bringing more people from out of state. Heads in beds, like was just said, right? That is one of our goals. You know, the community is great. Bring all the community in, but we have a limited amount of community resource available there that can be utilized. We want to utilize more, right? We just don't want weekend events. We want events 2 or 3 times a week. We want to bring in events from outside the community that's going to inspire and bring money into the community and to the small businesses in the community. So for qualifications, W. Harris, we have been around for, like I said, 40 years plus. As far as what we've done over those 40 years, we have done a lot. We do VAs for sanitation and maintenance and aseptic maintenance. We've run bowling alleys, movie theaters. We run Fort Hunter Liggett up north, 86,000 acres as part of the Hearst Mansion. We have done commissaries across the United States, over 100 of them. Those commissaries are actually military supporting military people and their dependents, and they are pretty much like a grocery store. Think of like an Albertsons. We have, in the entertainment industry, we have aquariums, right? We have one in Spokane, Blue Zoo. What we have set up there over the past 3 years in the aquarium, right, that sees thousands of visitors every year. And in 4 other locations, we put them across the United States. So entertainment, getting repeat customers, getting the customers, and finding out what the customers wants and meeting that expectation and getting customers to return. That's what we do. That's what we know how to do. And we know how to do it in all sorts of different venues. So I would like to go ahead and introduce Larry Leisure at this time. Larry?
Thank you, Commissioners. Larry Leisure, White Leisure Development Company. We certainly are not new to the Tri-Cities. 30 years ago, we brought 3 big shopping centers to Kennewick and the region, and in excess of $85 million. Walmart and some of the other centers have been here. We've also been working in every major community within 50 miles of here, whether it was Yakima or Walla Walla or Moses Lake and many others in the development of bringing retail. Our interest here is much greater than that. And that's the reason, one of the major reasons we're sitting here as three individual companies, that in looking at this very unique property, this property is extremely, you talk about track. I was around when track started here and developing here. We're also in the sports business, so we know very well. We're in the hockey business. And so as we look, this is Boise, 5,000 seat arena, 40 luxury suites tied to our hotel. We have 3 different hotels in the Boise area, but more importantly, and the only reason these are up here, is that we've managed our facilities. We do sports, we do other types of entertainment that we definitely see can happen here. We also are aware that there's a lease on the arena right now so that you can't do this today, but that's what we would be coming in and evaluating here for you when it said leases. The other thing on leases, obviously, is the ICE facility, and a very important part of your real estate, a very important part of your involvement here. And it's for children, it's for kids. That definitely needs to be evaluated. Our ICE and operations fellow that's been with me 28 years has helped on 7 ICE facilities. We would be bringing him in, if selected, not to live here, but to oversee. All of our business that we did here before and now in all of our 100 shopping centers are local. We're not bringing some individuals in from outside the market. All our local employees and or involved or associates, and that becomes critical. That's what this is all about. And as we look at this, there is opportunity in and around this investment that you, the county, have, which is tied to the center, and extra real estate that needs to be looked at and some potential change, I think, but at least we would be providing you some opportunities to look at the 40,000-foot level. And I think that, from our perspective, is something that needs to happen now as we've evaluated all of this. Paul Thornton, TAG Presents, was mentioned earlier. He, too, has done a number of concerts in this market. Bravo Entertainment, they were in Spokane, they're in Boise. And he's looked at this on a number of ways. You're not going to get, even though Garth Brooks, you'd love to have him, right? But that's not going to happen. That is definitely not going to happen. It's not going to happen here. It's not going to happen in Toyota Center. It's not going to happen. But there are opportunities. There definitely are opportunities here in bringing in some entertainment and making some of that happen, and seeing that happen on down the road. So he has been around the area, has moved back to Boise, and has looked at this market and knows it very, very well. The opportunity for local activity in the facility, we definitely understand that business. That's what we're in bringing activity to it. But you need to come in and support those hotels. Ms. Watkins stated in what she had seen as well, but it needs to happen. You need to be after statewide activity at the most. You're not going to have national events here. It isn't really going to happen, but you have a very, very strong opportunity because of your region here to provide and expand the 3 states around you and seeing something happen there that needs to be done and managed.
That is the 10 minutes, right? Are we ready to get, forgive me, Larry, but we've got to get to the Q&A session.
Oh, that's great.
So questions? Commissioners?
So I very much appreciate you helping to calibrate people by pointing out that we're not going to see Garth Brooks here. I think we all know that, but obviously a very successful history, the trio of companies. And so I'm curious, given that you've now gotten acquainted with our facility, you've got a sense of what the capital needs are for its improvement over time, what kinds of events do you think are realistic in the facility as it is now? And what kind of improvements, capital cost improvements, would you propose to improve its ability to host major events? Because all the great stuff you've done is wonderful and it's impressive, but I'd kind of like to know what you can do for HAPO Center.
No, and I think that's a reasonable question based upon the fact that you're the owner of that facility. And it's a nice facility. The facility itself, approximately 100,000 feet, and that's in the one space. The one space today, it was a wise move to get HVAC in the one space for the present, which really means that majority of those events will be needing to use that facility. Can you do concerts in there? You can do limited concerts. You can do a number of events there for much smaller groups. But until something's done with the other lease, which has been approved, as I understand it, and so you really can't do anything major there without the opportunity of the existing tenant.
And if we could, let's just sort of leap forward and let's just assume that lease is now expired. What's that potential look like?
Well, I think at some point there needs to be looking at HVAC in that facility, and you know it, and everyone knows it. That would be ideal for your summer activities. What that means is for those few months in the summer, it's going to be very limited for you being able to utilize that space. It may even make sense to move some of the seating at that point out if you have larger events and utilizing, when they're talking about utilizing some of the bare real estate that you might have for outdoor events and the opportunity for outdoor events. The whole issue earlier on the sheet of ice, there needs to be more and some time really spent with the folks on the ice facility. And whether it means expanding it, which also that's what brings events in for your hotels. When you have enough facilities. I think the other big thing is that, and we mentioned it to the group we talked with, you can't do it alone. It's not going to happen sending out or calling folks and say, come on down. You'll get the local business. You have a lot of the local business. But the groups, the various organizations that are here that have facilities need to get together. They really need to get together and talk about what they're going to do to bring in your larger events and to work together on the utilization of the facilities. The facilities are all different. You've got Toyota Center. What is that for? That's a concert facility. It's sports. They could do arena football there. They could do other facilities. We shouldn't be looking at anything like that over here. Weddings and some of the other things that Shirley mentioned earlier, it's great for the local opportunity into this facility. If that can happen, but at the same time, you've got to get the larger groups and opportunities coming into your facility. Later on, and I know I mean, you're not, you're talking $4 million to even think about looking at the facility and the arena, putting ice in it. So that's number one. Your kitchen facility, we've obviously looked at, and keep in mind, there was only 30 days in your RFP, so it's not like we've taken months and months to come before you today. You know, I would be crazy to think about doing that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, but in our first glance and looking at your facility, your kitchen facility is a good facility. It can be utilized for a number of other things, catering, other catering if you decide to do that. And we have, by the way, I've not met the Simmons, but I've eaten at your restaurant, and it's great. And we've heard nothing but good positive things about your catering here as we've talked to a number of people about that. in looking at here in this, in this location. So we're looking at the full management opportunity of all of your asset. I know you said you don't think that's part of the deal, potentially, but that's not it. I mean, the truth is, you need to be looking at that right now. If nothing else, from my perspective, that is so much needed. Road 68, I was here when there was nothing. I was here when track happened. I brought a couple of big tenants here myself, but that didn't mean anything. What's happened here in Pasco, what we put in our, if I were you, I wouldn't have read that big book we turned into you anyway, but the truth is, Pasco, and I know the rent, at least I looked that up, but my point to you is really, these communities over here, you now need to meet more often. I'm not talking commissioners, by the way. I'm talking about operators. There's a big, giant, beautiful parking lot over there. I have no idea what the deal is at the ballpark. But I know that there needs to be a much tighter operation on marketing, much more on marketing and much more on calendars. Not just calendars over here, the calendars of the whole region, so everyone knows what we're doing and how we can all help. Hotels, we're in the hotel business, but we also know that we're help funding, we, meaning the hotel industry, is helping to fund the dollars that have been placed there. But they've got to be participating too, and I've talked to a couple, that they've got to be involved too with the organization and with this group. So there are some things that we, I won't take your time, but in bringing together the collaboration of the community, I really, in our business, in your business, that really needs to happen, in my view.
Just a quick clarification. I was pointing out that the surrounding grounds aren't part of HAPO, but certainly I do think, as you've said, that they should be included in the operation. Just pointing out that they weren't presently or historically.
Yeah, excuse me.
2 minutes.
In your opinion, what is the purpose of the HAPO Center?
It's definitely not just an entertainment venue, number one. There are a number of community activities and things that can happen there that aren't so-called entertainment, but entertainment's a major part. The sports, there's an opportunity in the sports just because of what's there, what you've created. So that needs to be looked at, in my view, very definitely at your purpose. But your purpose is to bring economic development, in my view, to your community. And that is what is needed. And that is what we would be doing and creating if we, and you determined that we're the ones to move forward. That's what it's all about right there. And that's what I think is greatly needed.
Well, you've answered my questions already about the ice rink and the repairs to the parking lot, which was asked there. So I think the ice rink has potential of really creating a lot of good stuff if we were to bring competitive hockey to the Tri-Cities tournaments.
Yeah,
And
big time.
this keeps the kids busy.
Absolutely.
In this tight day and age, we need to keep them away from drugs and in sports.
Just imagine what you could do adding one sheet of ice. You don't need another Zamboni. You don't need another manager. You don't need that element. And imagine if you had a good working relationship with the Toyota Center, and what this region could be is a real hub that you've done, by the way, in other sports, including boating. But my point really is that you really could do something major in bringing in a number of those facilities in the sporting side of it that you have. We also are involved, which I know you know, but we're very active in naming rights. We've all of our hockey team, obviously, that becomes a very important part. And that, very frankly, is also a very important. Now, you've done a great job with your naming right here, and it's a great organization. I know that, and that's there. Well, there's a number of others that need to be having the opportunity to invest in your facility. And I think that's another big area that we know something about. That's why it said lease terms on that chart. And something that we would obviously be trying to bring to the area.
Well, we thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
gentlemen.
So we get a water?
Yes, sir. Yes, if nothing else, thank you for the presentation.
Thanks.
We'll welcome the International Promotions Group next.
Maybe not. Joe, why don't you pull one chair over?
David, the files you sent me. Here. Okay.
Let's go on. I think we have a video that we emailed you to start with.
It's on the thumb drive that I gave you,
Oh.
so, yeah. Just
I stuck it in my pocket.
Okay.
Okay, let's put it in there.
So there's a folder in there, Jeff. It's labeled international, and then the video's in there.
To the video first. Right there, at the bottom.
Dijo que le gustaba tanto aquí, Tri-Cities, que él se quería quedar aquí también. ¿Cómo diablos me hiciste tú?
For some reason, it's not coming up here. Give him a hand. Why don't you turn around and you put it on there with the video. While they're doing that, let me just go ahead and get started. I'm Dave Cortines with International Promotions. Many of you know me as a local journalist, and we have been doing events here in Tri-City since 1997. We have teamed up with many partners in the opportunity of doing this, and you'll see some of the events that we've done in the Tri-Cities. And then we'll go right after that. We also have Jeff
from, who has the contract in the arena, and we partnered up together to be able to start immediately working the arena as soon as we are given authorized to do that. So we just thought it was important that the arena is being used in the next 18 months, and that's why we decided to become partners and working together and making the arena a success. Yes, I agree, we're not going to have Garth Brooks in town, but we're going to have some of the largest events happening in the Tri-Cities. Just this weekend alone, my partner Galvencio Felipe was involved with bringing some groups to Hermiston, sold out, 13,000 people. They couldn't fit another person. HAPO Center sat quiet, nothing going on. Also, the Toya Center this Saturday, sold out. Another promoter that came to HAPO Center sat silent. So these are the contacts, these are the type of people that I'm associated with, how international promotions can bring these larger events. Now, the arena had Vicente Fernandez. He's international #1, passed away, came to the track. For someone to say we cannot bring these large events, they don't know what we can get done in the Tri-Cities. That arena can fit 8,900 people. And we've done it before. Ticket sales is what it's all about. I appreciate the RVs and the hot tubs, that's great. We're renting out space, but those are not ticket sales. Those are not going to bring people. And we're going to show you right now in this video on the type of groups and organizations, events that we've done here in the Tri-Cities.
Dijo que le gustaba tanto aquí, Tri-Cities, que él se quería quedar aquí también. ¿Cómo diablos me hiciste tú?
Tierra Cali. Tierra Cali.
No puede ser.
El espectáculo que estabas esperando. Este viernes 13 de agosto. Tierra Cali. En Hermiston, Oregon. Y por si esto fuera poco, también se presenta Diana Reyes.
Todavía no es el tiempo que perdí.
Diana Reyes.
Porque ya sabes que...
Y número 1 de Michoacán. Alfa 7.
Me miras así.
This was just Saturday. Thank you. So we just wanted to share with you just a few things that we've done just this year in our larger events, the type of people we brought in downtown Pasco. And we can't ignore the flavor of the Latino community here in Pasco and Franklin County. That's what's here. We can't ignore that. And you're not seeing that out at the track or the HAPO Center. You're just not seeing it. We entertained one of the promoters that was bringing all the groups to the HAPO Center. They were there for 3 years, 6, 8 events sold out every year out there. Sold out. And they quit coming. So we convinced them to come last February. They were at the HAPO Center. They left displeased, and they're not coming back until there's a change in management. They weren't allowed to even continue selling ticket sales because apparently they hit the limit of number of people could go into the hall. I want to answer just a couple of things real quickly before we have our sports guys talk to us. Creating new events, we can do that. We already have a bunch of events that we're looking forward to bring to the area. Marketing, it's all about marketing. I noticed in the profit and loss last month of June, $116 was paid in marketing on social media. You got to spend money in marketing. I would be working closely with Visitors Tri-Cities. They're the professionals in marketing Tri-Cities, marketing the HAPO Center. They know what they're doing. They're the kind of people we need to build partnerships with. And we lost Christy, who spoke a few words here. She wore big shoes, and she knew what she was doing, and I can congratulate her. And, you know, the White brothers and the Venue brothers and the Simmons are great people. I take nothing away from them. I would work with both of them. But I would need to be in charge so that we are successful in the things that we're doing. I'm really excited about our partnership. I don't know Jeff. We met each other and we said we need to make the HAPO Center successful. And our partnership needs to be successful. And so I'm going to turn the time over to him and we'll go from there.
Jeff Carville, Clubhouse Sports. Introduce my team, Joe Thornton, he's our sports and fitness guy. Nate Castaneda, he's our business development guy. And Chris Hollis is our marketing guy. I'm going to turn the floor over to Nate.
I'm standard,
for our
if that's okay.
presentation.
Sorry. If that's all right. Yeah, and just to note, we did have some slides. Dave, we're very excited to work with him. He brings a lot of connections, a lot of things that we can use in our sports and recreation world. And we are excited to help him in his adventure and all the things he's bringing with his shows and his music. Excited for the partnership. My name is Nathan Castaneda, representing the Copa Sports Academy. We are in the facility right now. So a lot of this will be going over what we've done since we've been there. Got a lot to cover, not a lot of time. So Jeff is going to kind of scroll through it as I'm talking, so you'll kind of have to go through both. Our mission, simply enough, we want to provide the HAPO Center to be a modern sports venue that can be accessible to all ages, to all people. We want to become the epicenter of sports for Franklin County. We want to be able to house, we want to have a safe experience for everybody that comes along. We want to be able to develop kids, develop even adults, have adult leagues, for people to come to the facility. We want to motivate people, empower people, and encourage them to grow and chase dreams all at the HAPO Center. That's our mission. It's probably worded different, but to summarize what's up there. If you just keep moving along. We have our staff. I'm going to talk about the staff just kind of as we're going through this, what we do. Jeff, just keep scrolling every 5-10 seconds. Hit the next one. I'm going to kind of talk about what is in the HAPO Center right now. So we have 39,000 square feet. We have 2 full-size basketball courts in there. We have it lined for basketball, obviously, and then volleyball. We have teams in there, clubs in there right now. We have a few athletic trainers, basketball trainers that work with us, which we'll get to in a few slides. A lot of stuff to cover. We have Dr. Dish, which is our specific sports training, top-of-the-line equipment that we can use in basketball. We also have 14,000 square feet that we have put in turf for indoor use. One thing that's awesome about HAPO is we have 80-foot ceilings. We can play volleyball in there, baseball in there. You can do a lot of sports. We can throw the football in there that you cannot do in other arenas, other buildings. You simply can't. We have baseball teams that come to us for that area. We have 2 batting cages, pitching development. We have a full weight room. We've teamed up with Joe Thornton, who's total impact, strength, and training, speed. He does it all. He does teamwork for us. He does individual work for us. For our weight room, we have a whole area designated for that. Chris himself, let me mention him. He's going to work a lot with our basketball. He's done tournaments, setting up 3-on-3s. He's been in sports for 25 years along the way. He is a member of the FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's working heavily with them. We're going to bring them and all of their sports endeavors into our facility. Jeff, I don't know how I left you out. Jeff is the brains of the operation. I like to think of him as he sets the goal, the expectation, what we're building, and our team along the way as we share that goal, we're the ones that help achieve it. Yeah, cool. This is where we're at. These are events, clubs that we have brought in. Now, we have single, but these are clubs that have multiple. They have 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. Some of the soccer clubs we have that have 20 teams that come in. So these are the groups that we have. Go back one slide, if you will, for me. I'll fly through that real quick. Three River Soccer Club, Eastern Washington Surf Club, Pasco High School Soccer. We had all the KNYB All-Stars. Tons of baseball teams. We had a gladiator football team, a touch football. You can see pictures of Dr. Dish, all that going on. Next slide. Is that 10 minutes? Dang. Sorry, I'm going to fly. Is that okay? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So a lot of what we're going over. The next one's HAPO Center is a great location. Tri-Cities, we know it. Growing sports, everything, you got it there. What we want to do is be involved in the community. We have Joe Thornton, who's a big part of the Big Bro Joe. He's got a Shirt On Foundation. We have a couple pictures in there. If you just go back for 2 seconds. We work with Joe. He works with the youth. We have them in there. We also have a partnership we're bringing in with the Pasco Parks and Rec to give them access. Part of our facility is we want to, as well as we want to train the tops of the top to get them to reach their levels, we want to be accessible to everyone to come. Our plan for activities, go ahead and just go to the calendar, Jeff, because I can talk about some of this. So this is a sample of what our weekly looks like in the facility. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we kind of break it down by our courts. Go back just one for 2 seconds, Jeff. And you kind of see everything that how we can involve different trainers, different programs, all these different people that come into the facility on a weekly basis. Now, this is our big events. If you go back, we got to go? Just kind of. Sorry, fellas. We got big events we can bring along. Can't wait to practice, involve with Dave himself. A lot of things planned. Can't wait.
Questions?
Oh, go ahead. So what's the goal?
The goal is to have, a short term is to immediately start filling up the weekends. We're in the peak season. The HAPO Center should not be sitting empty on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So the goal is to start filling up the dates. It's all about having contacts. If you don't have contacts, you're not going to be able to bring the entertainment people to that location. Ticket sales. It's all about ticket sales. I mean, we're not going to be able to give back to the county a big percentage of the dollars that if you don't have ticket sales. You've got to have entertainment that you can sell tickets, okay? So short term is start filling up the weekends out there. Long goal is to have all 52 weeks filled up. During the week, I'm not concerned about the week being filled up because we have the sports going on out there. You know, I just came from there. There was Hanford High School football out there practicing inside, you know. And so I know that we're going to be able to keep the center busy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then comes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, get all the events, all of those out there filled up. You can have 2 events going at the same time, in the expo hall and the arena. And we're going to be working on those dates with them, on making sure that we have those 2 of the arena and the expo. And talk about the hockey ring. The goal is to make sure that they're successful. They need to be successful. We need them to be successful. And to answer that, the ice machine, that's no brainer. We have nonprofits that we can get grants to help buy that ice machine. And it's not going to cost me anything. It's not going to cost the county anything. I have expertise in getting grants. I just got a $100,000 grant for the Latin Business Association. So the goal, to answer your question, Mr. Mullen, is to make sure that the sports facility is successful, the hockey rink is successful, and that the community is successful in being able to go to the HAPO Center and be able to enjoy themselves. And when they leave there, they're going to say, what a great opportunity to come to these events. That's our goal.
So I've been over to the HAPO Center. I've seen what Mr. Carvo has done there, some good things, I believe. That space is largely committed, at least for now. The ice arena is largely committed for now. So what I'd be interested in knowing a little bit more about is how would you envision using the other portions of the HAPO facility? What kinds of events and what kinds of revenue would you anticipate from those?
Well, I think to answer your question, thank you for the question, Mr. Peck. The back area of that building there, you guys put in a wall back there with a lawn. That needs to be fixed into an outdoor wedding area. More weddings need to be held out there. Okay, we need a food truck vendor. Every community has a food truck court. Pasco does not have a food truck court. Pasco had 52 food trucks registered in the city of Pasco, and they're spread out throughout Pasco. We could have our own taco wagon food truck out there because there's so many of them, and it would be the hot spot of finding a taco out there. or whatever you want for food, you can do that with,
Yeah.
like they do in Kennewick and Richland. So.
Just so I don't
we would use-
miscommunicate.
We would use those areas.
I'm smiling because I love the idea,
Okay.
but we're in the city and we can't get a permit to do it, believe it or not.
We'll get a permit. We'll build bridges with the city of Pasco. We'll work with Mike. Mike is great in getting things done. And we'll work with Mike and the city of Pasco, and we'll get some permits. Building bridges, working with people together. You got to have some credibility, and I think it's all about credibility. And I'm really excited about working with these guys. You know, I think they've been shortchanged out there, and we're going to use that facility the next 18 months. I'm the only one that can make that happen. No, the management's there now didn't make it happen, and I did make it happen. And we're going to be able to use that facility. It's your facility. We're going to be able to use that facility the day you say we have the contract, because they're willing to work with me on making sure that our events and the community events are being held in that arena area and the expo. As to answer the rest of your question, Mr. Peck, there's a lot of area out there that's not being used, and we need to get that to use. We need more carnivals, more outdoor circuses and carnivals, so that our families can attend these type of events in those parking lots. You know, we need to make that use. And that RV center next to the ice rink, it needs some help, and we can make that happen, and making that RV center more profitable, and make it more a family-used RV center.
Can I pick you back up? Just really quick. Sorry, I'm Joe Thornton. I am also a partner with Jeff. I am really embedded in the city of Pasco. I'm the strength and conditioning coach at Pasco High School. So I work with a lot with our youth. And the thing that, that really stuck out to me is that, the goal is numbers for sure. That's the ultimate goal. But the more important thing, I'm from a big city. It's experience. It's the experience that brings people back. It's the experience that kind of reaches a community. This is a small community. Tri-City is a small community that I call home now. And I've thrown multiple events out here in the Tri-Cities which have crazy amount of success, but it's because of the experience, and it's because of we having something to do. The HAPO Event Center provides something to do in the city, in Tri-Cities in general, and we need to really invest in that aspect, because it is a small town and words travel fast, as most of us know. And the word of mouth is a great marketing asset, but it's also a tool that we can use in order to bring more attraction, not just through sports and fitness, which I'm a former professional football player. So I get that aspect, the arena aspect, but it's also the events and the concerts, and really tapping into our youth, because there's so much more that we can do with them. That large parking lot, like we suggested. I see kids lined up at Gold's Gym with all their nice cars every Friday night. This is something that we can kind of use and benefit and kind of help bring our community together. Yes, it's about the numbers for sure, but we are here to also create an experience that it'll not only make an impact, but it'll last and allow the HAPO Center to really benefit from that, and in the local economy as well. So that's my take.
If I could just add also to the sports section, we have 3 major sports teams in Seattle, and we don't get to see hardly any of those sports athletics that come over here. They just don't come. Mr. Dieter, we should have been using you with these guys. You're a former professional Washington Redskin.
Now. I'm a farmer now.
But you have a lot to share with the youth. And so we are looking forward to working with Seattle Seahawks. I was with them last Thursday, with the Seattle Mariners and with the Sounders, and getting a lot of those athletes to come on over and be part of the HAPO Center.
Any other questions, comments? You answered mine about the ice rink and paying for it, grants, funds to repair the parking lot. It's all about maintenance, and that's what we were lacking. City of Pasco and Franklin County have been putting money into the HAPO Center ever since it was named track. We've never made money out there yet. We're trying.
to change that.
All right.
I know my guys like to talk, and so I got kind of weeded out. But my experiences with the sports, but my working profession is with facility maintenance. I've been in that place for 9 months. I know everything that's wrong with it and everything that can be fixed. What we can do with you're talking about with what needs to be with the air conditioning, I can literally, I'm a project manager. I have a degree in project management. I have a degree in business where I work. I'm in procurement for 20 years. Mike has my resume from 4 or 5 months ago. I guarantee that we can fix the HVA system in the HAPO Center Arena for far less than what's been quoted. I've heard some numbers thrown around, and I have enough contacts in Tri-Cities to know that we can get that done for a lot cheaper. Those are huge machines sitting on the other side of that building, and I think they might have been overreached in pushing out more cold air than they need. So I think we can fix that problem a lot cheaper than what everybody's being told we can.
All right. Well, that concludes our question and answer period. We thank you for your time, and I thank all 3 applicants for putting in. We appreciate all 3 of you putting in for this.
Thank you.
So with that moves us to, go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
Chair, I've got one more office business section. I received a request from the Copa group to use the courthouse again for a gathering and a concert. They did this last year, you might remember, in September of 2022, where they used the rotunda. So they're asking for the same thing. So I'll just read the request. With Franklin County Commissioner's approval, we would like to reserve the Franklin County Courthouse Saturday, September 30th, 2023, from 4:30 to 9:30 p.m. Colima State Symphony conductor Miguel Angel Alatorre, along with soprano Marianne Silva, will perform a concert produced by Encanto Arts Jose Iniguez, who's very well known in the community, a friend of mine, and I will say this: when Jose puts an event together, it's spectacular. So the celebration, they'd like to hold it again here at the Franklin County Courthouse on September 30th, and they say building upon a successful September 22 gala, the event will again bring a cultural celebration and musical experience to the most beautiful courthouse in the state of Washington to celebrate Kalima's 500th birthday, to solidify the accord between the city of Pasco and the state of Colima, and to give some context about Copa. The group fosters economic development relationships with Colima, which many people don't know. We have up to 30% of Pasco is made up of Colimans from Mexico. So it's a great relationship. As a matter of fact, the Colville tribe is heading with Copa to Colima in October to kind of foster that relationship. The Port of Pasco is working with them as well for economic development issues. So it's a good relationship that's developing. I'm a part of the group and have been since its inception several years ago. So it continues to develop, and it really was a great event last year. So hopefully, I know I'm kind of pushing for it, but they'll put on a really good event.
And do you need a consensus tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't know if it necessarily needs a motion, but sort of the thumbs up. Yeah, a consensus from the group.
I'd like to suggest a motion. In fact, I'll move that the board, by unanimous consent, approve and welcome and encourage this. I went to the last one. It's great.
Yeah, really good event.
Been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
And that is September 30th.
Yes, sir.
All right, with that, we're down to public comment. Is there anybody for public comment? Anybody on the phone? Nobody on the phone?
I don't see anybody on the phone, sir.
Okay.
Kathy Sant, Franklin County. I was reading on the website about the duties and the decorum of the county, and I like where it says the county commissioners will treat county staff and members of the public with a high level of professionalism and respect, and commissioners expect county staff and members of the public to extend the same courtesy. About a month ago, as I think it was before we broke off to a executive session, there was an employee who tried to talk to Commissioner Peck, and she was treated Commissioner Didier, and she was treated extremely poorly, and I was kind of horrified and of her treatment. And so I really hope that that's gets past that decorum piece of that. Also, I saw on the website for Mike Gonzalez's little write-up that you do every now and then, it talked about PR for the county, and I think the only PR that's needed here is that everybody up there and the elected officials treat the employees and public with dignity and with respect. And I just think that's the only PR that is needed at the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Seeing nobody.
I just want to say these are some amazing companies. I've been impressed with all three of them. I was wondering if there was going to be some of the Mexican boxing and wrestling, which is always exciting to see too if you end up doing that. But anyhow, I just really feel sorry for you guys having to pick. But whatever you do, I support what our commissioners choose. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alrighty, at this time, I think we're going to move into an executive session, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. We're going to move into an executive session. I would think for 30 minutes for something of this length that we may need to talk about under RCW 4230.110, Section 1, Subsection G, evaluate qualifications of an applicant.
Okay, so at this time, we'll recess into executive session for up to 30 minutes. You helped yourself.
We're not in executive session for 19 minutes.
No, we're coming out, and then we're going to take a break. We have come out of executive session, and we're going to recess for 18 minutes. Okay, we are back from recess, and I have to apologize. Once you establish an executive session for 30 minutes, the people that are online, there are 17 of them, may go do something, and if we come out early, then they will miss it, so. And Mr. Briggs, you got a clarification, we're gonna have to amend the agenda?
Yes, Commissioner Didier, I would suggest we have a motion to amend the agenda, the basis for the executive session being 4230-110I, potential litigation.
So I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda.
I'll make the motion that we amend the agenda for RCW 42.30.140 contract negotiations.
110I.
Okay, 42.30.110I, that we amend the agenda for that. I'll make the motion.
And that's potential litigation, so second.
Been a motion and a second to amend the agenda to 42.30.11I. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With that, as far as the awarding the RFP, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we award the RFP to Harris White Leisure Team.
I second. Discussion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I was hoping and expecting that we would have some discussion about the merits, and we'd have that discussion among the board members before we move directly to a motion. But,
Well, we can have that now in this discussion, so go ahead.
Okay. So we've got, and let me preface my remarks by saying, part of the miscue on the executive session was, I believe, an effort to have this discussion in executive session. And I've argued that this should be done in open session, which is what we're doing now. And analysis of those RCWs proved correct, and that's why we're doing this publicly, as we should. We've got three applicants that I think are very different. Each of them brings their own skill sets, their own capabilities, their own talents. I have a bit of a reputation for being pretty candid and pretty blunt. I mean no offense to anyone if any of my words sound that way, but I think some of the applicants, Mr. Cortinas, for example, haven't always gotten full measure of credit for the experience and the work that he has done, and some of the large, especially Hispanic dances that he's put together. The group from Boise, who I was not familiar with until this time, but certainly I've been a beneficiary of a lot of your work. I've shopped in a lot of commissaries in 2.5 decades in the military, and I understand that's not a small thing. It takes a lot to pull off those kinds of contracts, the kind of execution and logistics that you'd also use in running an event center. So I think all three applicants could run the facility. And so I look to what has been historically, in my view, in my 15th year now here as a commissioner, watching that facility, what has held this facility back? And I think it's really been two things. One, I think it's been the Board of Commissioners, and I'll excuse the two commissioners sitting next to me. I'm not pointing to them necessarily, but prior to their time, there was an on-off discussion about whether or not to sell a facility. That doesn't do a lot to encourage people to come in and book an event 2 years out. So some of that belongs on the commissioners. A lot of it was that we had burdened the facility with 3 different bond issues that were expensive. We were, as I recall, $3 million in the red on bonds per year. If you just look to the operating side, we were perpetually losing money, and I think it's because we were using a significant amount of county labor. As much as we value our employees and we try to pay them fairly and we give them great benefits, in a facility like that, that is financially crippling. And we made a conversion to a contract caterer, which removed a lot of that costly government labor and replaced it with contract labor. And for the first time in the 15 years that I've been here, I saw SVM deliver results in the black. Now, that's separate and aside from the bond payments. I don't want to mislead anybody. But that's a significant accomplishment to be able to pull that off. So I think that the issue here with the performance in the facility has not been a lack of ability or experience or commitment by the present contractor or even the previous team. It's a set of dynamics that the Board of Commissioners put in place that frankly was financially fatal to a facility like that, my view. I am a really strong proponent of two things. Demonstrated capability and local. And I openly admit that those strong views can work against an applicant from outside the area. And I want to be fair and give that due consideration and acknowledge it. The local angle is really from the standpoint of how many local people do we have employed, how many people have SVM employed for a number of years, and how many will they continue to employ if they're running the facility. As impressive as, and forgive me for calling it the gentleman from Boise, but there's 3 different companies. I don't want to leave any of them out. But as impressive as the presentations are, I was specifically looking for things in your proposal that were on our scale, that were within our grasp. That's why I asked, what size functions and activities could you do at our facility? And you were very candid, and I thank you for that, speaking to the size. And it's the same kind of functions that we've had before, and it's functions that I believe that SVM could execute as well. So I am almost of the sense that this market is below the scope and scale of your organization and the work that you do. And apologies if that's not accurate. Maybe you've got a lot of smaller facilities I'm not aware of. But I think that the work that SVM has done to get us to the point where we're in the black, combined with the fact that we don't have a huge amount of capital to pour into this facility and create the kind of buildings and grounds and facilities that would be necessary to execute a vision like the one I heard from these gentlemen. That's where I see a disconnect. If we had that capital, if we could create that kind of a facility, your expertise and your background, your experience would be a lot more appealing. I just don't see it as being as applicable to our scenario as I do a local group like SVM. So that's the way I lean. It is not something I just kind of said, yeah, that's the way I'm going to go. I've gone back and forth on this a few times. I'm really thankful that you made the effort to come and present. It sounds like there's support in the rest of the board for your team, and if you end up being the contractors, you'll have 110% of my support, whomever does. But I think the right answer for Franklin County, the facility we have, the capital we have, and the future we're looking for is properly and right size for SVM, and that's the way I think we should go.
I would just like to say that we are very fortunate to have 3 very well-respected applicants, and each of the 3 possess a very specific skill. It's a tough decision. We took a lot of calls on it. Franklin County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. I just feel that Harris White Leisure Team is the total package. And I think the success of the HAPO Center is going to be with everybody working together. I think that that's the case with Harris White Leisure Team, that they will still employ local people that are exceptional at their skills. And that is why I went with the leisure team, because I feel that the other 2 applicants can still function and help support and work together with the HAPO Center under their leadership. Thank you.
And I agree. I think I'm looking at the bigger picture, and I want that HAPO Center to not only break even, I want it to make money. And that's something that I didn't hear from this Board of Commissioners when I served with the other ones. They thought that we're not in the business to make money. Well, we got upkeep. We took $6 million of our ARPA funds and put it in the HVAC system on the one side. We didn't do that not to make money. And I'm looking forward to working with you, and hopefully you're going to be working with the Simmons and with the sports groups, because I think we all could work together here and make this thing happen, and you've had big success all over the country. And I'm looking forward to that here in the Tri-Cities. So with that, there's been a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peck.
I think there's still discussion to be had. Mr. Gonzalez, would you refresh my memory, please? Were there percentage shares of proceeds in these proposals?
Kind of elaborate what you mean on percentage shares.
I'm trying to recall, in the proposals, there were descriptions of the services to be provided, but was there a percentage in there as to what percentage of the proceeds coming in would go to the contractor? Is there compensation? How would they be paid?
I think that's up for negotiation. So I know currently SVM gets a 70-30 split. We get 30% of whatever sales. And so that certainly is up for negotiation, Jeff. I don't think that was part of the process, right? You know, in terms of what their take would be on various events. Yeah, that wasn't.
I think that's part of the proposal. I think that was part of the proposal package that was presented, is what it would cost.
Well, what it would cost, yeah. I mean, everybody for a proposal. So SVM, I believe, started at 12.5. The Harris Group was right around $20,000. And I think the caveat of that was, you know, from that point, whoever's awarded the contract is up for negotiation. So.
Well, let's start with, that's about $7,500 a month extra for the Harris White Group. What was the latest net profit on HAPO? I'm just looking at it saying, you know, would that even cover that extra cost?
Yeah, I'd have to get you the exact numbers, but yeah, I know you alluded to a profit, but you also alluded to the fact that, you know, we've cut $500,000 in labor costs. So, you know, certainly they are making a profit, but, you know, it's certainly not in the way that we'd like it to be made. It's with more in regards to cuts than really having robust revenue sources coming in.
I would ask you respectfully not to speak to the merits of one group or another or how you'd like to see it happen. The question was, and if you don't have it off the top of your head,
I
that's
just
fine.
don't. So.
You mentioned a 70-30 split. I think you're referencing the
alcohol sales. If that's what you're referencing, that's what I was thinking of.
Well, actually, you're the one that brought it up. That's why I was just asking what you were referencing. Were you referencing the catering contract?
No, I was referencing the alcohol sales,
alcohol.
Like in terms
okay.
of splits.
Okay, well, I don't remember exactly either.
Yeah,
I don't think that number is right, but we can leave it there. That we don't need to spend time on that. Okay, so there is a percentage, or a monthly fee. I think it's maybe on page 2 of the proposals, the ones that say confidential information on them. Okay, thank you.
I mean, I would like to add that the HAPO Advisory Group also selected Harris White Leisure. The Franklin County Strategic Growth Committee, made up of about 20 elected officials and department heads, also chose the Harris White Leisure Group by quite a wide margin. So, you know, there certainly is consensus in the courthouse that they have the level of sophistication, and certainly was a lot of support for them. So
that's good to know. Is there any more discussion or questions?
No further questions, thank you.
So there's been a motion and a second to award the RFP to the Harris White Leisure Team. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay?
Let it be recorded. It has been awarded to the Harris White Leisure Team.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
If I may, Commissioners?
Yes.
Perhaps we could make a motion then for Mr. Gonzalez to come back with a contract for adoption by resolution consistent with the RFP.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that Mr. Gonzalez comes back with a contract that is consistent with the RFP.
I second. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll vote aye. Decision's already made on which team contract's appropriate.
Thank you. All right. If there is no further business for the good of the county, this meeting is adjourned.